Hey y'all, it is Moonlight Cowboy. Today we're going to be taking a sneak peek or first look at the new Relax Building update. And the cool thing is we'll be able to see a lot of what they plan on doing because we can already kind of do these things, right? So what am I doing right now? I'm going through and I'm deleting a lot of blueprints on this character, and you're probably wondering, well, why? Why would you do that? Why do you want to get rid of these blueprints? Well, we're not going to need a lot of them. Some of them I'm going to save, like that one right there. That roundy boy, as TNG calls it, I'm going to save that as well. But they're like these free place ones, we're not going to need them anymore. So I'm just deleting them to get them out of the way for me, and so that way I can create new blueprints with the new Relax Building update. For those of you who have not seen or heard about the Relax Building update, Bethesda came out and said that they were going to potentially add this. They first started out in a Discord message, as shown right here, that they were looking to do the Relax Building update, and it was basically going to mirror the version that we have currently in Fallout Worlds. And as you can see from this screen that we're going to pull up, down there on the workshop, we have Relax Building, and it's right there underneath the workshop area. And right now I have it toggled on. I'm going to show you how to do it so you can practice if you're interested in getting a head start on this. So you just go into workshop under the setting there, and then you see Relax Building, and you can just toggle that on or off. In this case, I'm going to toggle it on because we're going to follow that same metric. They also came out in a video and said that they were doing that they were going to be adding this in a few months. So what is Relax Building? So as you see here, you have three modes: free, snap, and collide. And the way you toggle those is, at least on PlayStation, it's with the square button. So you have free, and then you can hit that square and it goes to snap, and then you go to collide. Now, so free placement means that you can place it anywhere. It's going to just go in. There's no collision. There's no anything. Snap returns it to its normal mode, and then collide means that you can still place it anywhere, but it still stays on whatever that surface is. So as an example, I have it on free mode right now, and I can just place this thing inside. No issue, no collision, and it floats. All the items now float. You can place them in the air, as you see here with these new prefabs. These two prefabs had eluded me, and I had a lot of questions on them, and given to me, and I tried to float them and tried. I couldn't. We will now be able to float these prefabs, which is amazing. So with all of that said, what does this mean for us? How is this going to improve our building? Are we still going to need these building tutorials anymore? Well, to be fair, some of my building tutorials are going to end up in the Walmart, bargain DVD bin. But there's going to be some that we need, right? So for example, right here, I'm trying to place these floors as stairs, or just layer them, and it's not really doing very well. Unless you have the hands of a surgeon or a child that makes Nike shoes, you're probably not going to be able to do it perfectly. Even when I tried there a little bit harder, they're still off a little bit. It's very hard to get them what I call pixel perfect, which means that they're like so perfectly aligned that they're within the 1 pixel, right? And the way that we have to do that oftentimes is going to be still through catwalks. Now, you're probably wondering, don't the old tricks still work? Well, yeah, you're going to need some of them, and some you're not going to need anymore. So, for example here, can you free place a wall to double wall it? Sure you can. But will it be exact? And that's going to be a lot of the premise of what we talk about today. So we can still do our double wall, which you're going to see right here. And you can even blueprint that double wall and then free place that if you want to do it that way, and that's fine. At least those 2 walls will be pixel perfect. Another thing that we'll probably still need to do here is, like, say if you want to do your layered roof where you have a double roof, so that way the underside of your roof isn't ugly like most of the undersides of roofs. Oop, I screwed up there. So you would still want to do that and make it exact. That's the key. Because just because you can free place something doesn't mean you always want to. Because you still want to have it to where it looks like it's supposed to be there and not like all janky, right? So as you see here, all I did was modify the other roof, and then they're perfectly layered. And you could have placed it on top of each other free place, but it probably wouldn't have come out that good. Now, look at this, though. Now, as of right now, and they may change this, but as of right now, we can't do merges with the pressure plate. At least I wasn't able to here. So what are we going to do for merges? Well, you would immediately assume you could just put it inside of an object, right? You've seen me do that. But with some items, it's not letting us. What it's going to say is when I pick this thing up and I try and place it inside right now, what it's going to do is it's going to say can't place because item is not visible. According to the way that it is currently, it has to be in the line of sight of the character. So then when I break the item, I can then place it and put it in. So that part is fairly easy. However, watch what happens when I move this. That item I placed in there is going to stay there for whatever reason. And then, so it does make things, easier and harder sometimes at the same time. So one way we did find that we could still merge is with the foundations. We can also still float with foundations too. And I'm sure you're wondering, well, Moonlight, why would I need to do foundation merges anymore? Well, what happens if you want to store your generator? There's, a high likelihood that we're not going to get free power in adventure mode throughout our entire camp. So rather, we would still want to probably hide that. Now, we could still go underground to do that. But remember, we can't do merges, so to get underground, as of right now, we're not going to be able to do those merges to get under there with, say, the symptomatic is a common one, or the shower is what I often use. So we're still going to have to use the stairs. So, the first thought for me was, well, I can just put these stairs underground. Look at that. Yippee-ki-yay. I'm going to just go underground. This made things super easy, and that's as far as I could take the stairs underground, right? And so here I am. I made it. No issues. Oh, all right. So in this particular case, what I did was I still used the foundation to get under there. But the good news is I can remove the foundation. Once I'm underground, I can free place things underground just like I can above ground. So another benefit of doing things underground just because you turn off collision doesn't mean it doesn't have collision with the ground. However, when you have an item underground that will support it, if you notice, I can kind of poke that sign out from the top, but it keeps wanting to snap to the top. But with the foundation, I can still place that item however I want from underground. And I can move around that foundation too to get what I needed. So now on to new blueprints and like other ideas, techniques, what have you. And this is where I'm going to do a call to arms for everybody out there watching, right? So you will see that I came up with a few things. Some of it probably are pretty commonsensical. I basically spent like a morning before work coming up with ideas, right, for like new blueprints that we could use, which is why I deleted all those blueprints in the beginning to kind of free up space for new ideas. My call to action for everybody watching today is, will you, if you have a YouTube channel, find out the new tricks. Help me share it out with the world. This is a new opportunity for us to kind of hit the reset button on all of those really cool tricks that I know are out there waiting with these new techniques, right? So, if you don't have a YouTube channel, send it to me. I'll give you credit. moonlightcowboygaming@gmail.com, or you can leave a comment with like an idea or something that worked really well for you. And if I can get it to work, then I will shoot you over a message thanking you, and I will also give you credit. And I'll put it in a video sometime if it makes sense to do so. So this technique that I'm doing right here, I used an angled wall, angled roof, half wall, angled roof, half wall, flat roof. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take that, I'm going to walk it down. And for those of you who follow my channel, you've probably seen this technique before. This is one that I kind of created a while ago for stacking roofs, but we can modify this to get what we're looking to do earlier. So as you see, I'm walking it down by just attaching an angled roof, and I just keep doing that and then flattening it so that way I can get a little bit lower, right? And here in a minute, I'm going to get down to the level. And what you will see, if you ever want to do this for just roofs, you can, obviously. And then what you get is perfectly stacked roofs every time. Actually, that's the name of the other tutorial. And I'm going to do this one more time so that way you guys can see what this looks like. So I angled a roof up, one of the pre-existing ones that I'd had earlier. And then half wall, angled roof, half wall, flat roof. Okay. And then what happens is that it because of the way that it hinges on top of the wall, it ends up creating a little bit more height. And you do that enough times, and then you will actually create more height on your roof, which then gives you the space to create the effect that we're looking for, which is having them stacked up. And then I just walk it down. I promise after this you will see you'll see the purpose behind this, and I think it'll make sense. All right, so I've got my 4 roofs. I'm gonna only do 4 for now, but I mean you could do this for as many roofs as you want, or essentially for as many floors as you want, because that's what we're going to be making is those steps. So right here I have my half wall, and now I'm gonna add a catwalk to that, and then I'm gonna add a floor to that catwalk to kind of push it out. I probably should have pushed it out a little further, but what you'll see is I went ahead and removed that one roof. And then I added, I used my next roof and a shorter catwalk to create that, like quarter distance away from the last floor. And I'm going to do it again so it's easier to see. This time, though, I'm going to have to do a little something different with the catwalk. Again, I probably could have gotten a little further out with that. But what you can do here, if you notice, I'm adding that catwalk. It's the same distance away. I can't have that because I want it to be the step. So if you notice, though, if I still remove those catwalks, it will remove them both. So what we can do instead is we can destroy this catwalk, and then I just add this other catwalk. When I do it that way and I attach it to a destroyed one, when I remove this catwalk, it'll actually keep that other catwalk in position. Okay, so now all I need to do is add my next floor for my next step. It can get a little tricky, so be patient with yourself in the process. But as you see it, it just takes I basically rotated it around until it worked. We're going to do that one more time, that same process. Remove the roof, use the next roof, because as you can see, I'm basically staggering them down and I'm staggering them out, and this is going to create that nice step, this look that we're going to come up with using floors, basically for the first time. And hopefully by the time that this comes out, we'll be able to do this in adventure mode based on what Bethesda has given us for information. So I was able to get all 4 of those stacked. I could have done that even higher with more roofs, obviously, but just for the sake of time and the sake of demonstration, I will show you what this looks like. So now I have this blueprinted, and I can just basically place this wherever I want. What I do recommend, though, is make sure when you're placing the blueprint, make sure snap is off, because you notice the whole thing kind of just fell apart. So once we remove this, you'll see I went ahead and moved it off of that, and I moved it to basically free place and without snapping. And look, now we have stairs. All I have to do from this point is I just modify those stairs to whatever style of floor that I want, probably going to match what I have in my house that I'm not going to build today. But that's kind of what it looks like, and obviously I can just run up there, no problem. Pretty easy. So, and once you have the blueprint, you don't have to make it again, right? You could just pop it down. And yeah, I think those look pretty cool. So for our next trick, look at these stairs. Now, I know we've been able to do some similar things. It's been really hard to do a lot of flipping and stuff, and like, as cool as that is, and I'm glad we're able to do something similar in adventure mode now, watch how easy this becomes with this new update. So I took the round blueprint, the one that everybody has. Nobody makes this anymore, by the way, so if you're looking for a tutorial, just go and ask one of your buddies. They're like, yeah, I probably got it from somebody else. I got this blueprint from somebody else because this is the most perfect one I could find. So what I'm doing is I added the full-length catwalk and then medium-length catwalk off of the 16 walls on this round blueprint. With no collision, I don't have to flip anything anymore. I can just snap these together off of these catwalks. But what I am going to do too is I'm going to save those catwalks there because we're going to use them for something else. Something else cool that we can do with this round blueprint. If you do need the blueprint, there's like a gazillion tutorials on how to do it. I know that TNG has one. I know that Buddha 2 Dope just came out with one. But look, now I blueprinted it and I can just free place it wherever the heck I want. And then all of a sudden I can change the step type, right? Because those steps don't look as cool. I can go to these really cool ramps. And another one that I found too is like the Enclave stairs also look cool with this. But anyhow, yeah, we swapped that out, and I think that looks killer. I could see that being a spire for like an old like medieval style house, you know, maybe in Europe or, you know, Bavaria or something. But man, that looks cool. Underneath, you do get a little light on the sides, but again, if this is a spire for the top of the house, I mean, well, how cool is that? And this is just one that, like, I did that in just a few minutes. That was super easy to do. So this is another one that's super easy to do. I stacked two foundations on top of each other, and I blueprinted them both. Or they're a little bit hard because they're right on top of each other, but I did it to where one was just slightly off, just by a pixel. You'll see why in a minute. So I can now, for those of you who you know, don't want to use underpinnings, they have a really cool foundation. There's one foundation that doesn't have that really gritty looking side, and that's the vault foundation, right? So now I could use that for underpinnings if I so choose, and then because I have these merged together, I can just do that right there, and then I don't have to worry about that top of that. The ugly vault floor itself is ugly, the side is beautiful, right? So speaking of which, there's another trick that we can use too to cover up the top of these vault floors if you wanted to use those as your underpinnings, right? So here I'm doing a similar trick that I did before. It's just half wall, angled roof, half wall, and angled roof. And then I'm going to flatten that. I'm going to get rid of the other stuff. I'm going to walk that down. I didn't go as high as I did before. So if you notice, I didn't go like super high, and there's a reason for that. Because I want this to be really on top of this floor here. And you'll see what I'm talking about in a second. Don't really want any light gaps. Alright, so if you notice, I got that roof to be just about the same height, just a little higher than the four foundations I have there. And I'm adding my wall. Now, make sure you're snapping that wall to the catwalk, not to the sky like I just did. To the catwalk, not the floor. And you see how it's a little bit higher than the foundations are. And then what I'm doing here is I'm just catwalking off of that. And I'm adding my floor on the catwalk. Because now you can just snap floors to catwalks, right? Which makes this really cool. And then I can just cover this up with these floors, still keeping that really cool, pretty concrete on the side with those foundations. Now there's a couple other things that we could do too. So that's sitting right on top. Let's say I wanted to set that in there a little bit differently and maybe a little bit higher up, right? So there's another way we can do this. What I can do is I'm going to go ahead and remove all those. I'm just going to catwalk off of this and use the foundation. I'm going to remove that catwalk, and then I'm going to double tap, and on the second tap, hold the X button. Again, on PlayStation, there's ways to do this on every console. Oh, I went a little too high. But when you do the double tap hold and then move up or down, it goes straight up or down without moving, you know, a little bit forward, back, whatever. It stays exactly where it needs to be. It just goes exactly higher or exactly lower. And through this, I can get those into place. The only catch is with this, because it's a little closer, you get that flickering, which is why I did it the other way. But this is like the easy way. So it's a nicer way to do those foundations. Now, let's say you just wanted to skip all the foundations and you wanted to just use walls as your underpinnings. Great. Look how easy this is. I'm not even using catwalks. They snap to those upper floors, and I can remove them very easily. And, you know, they do require more budget to do it that way, but of course you have more options. So I think that looks dynamite, really cool. So this was obviously in the thumbnail. Going back to that Roundy Boy blueprint. So this one, when I talked about leaving those catwalks in place, I did that, and then I destroyed them all. As you saw in an earlier portion of this video, destroying them means that I'll be able to separate these other catwalks out when I delete them. Or when I want to keep these If I want to keep these white catwalks that aren't destroyed in place, the only way I could have done that is to snap them to destroyed catwalks, basically. So now I'm going to save that as a blueprint just so I have it, and I don't have to do that again. I'm going to remove these walls. I'd already removed the destroyed catwalks from this. And then just watch how easy this is to do. It does get a little trickier the closer you get to the inside. It starts to, it's going to take a little bit of patience. It can be done because I did it. And I really didn't spend a lot of time on any of these. Like I said earlier, this is something I was like, oh, wow, I bet you I could come up with this tutorial and maybe it'll help people. And I'm going to slap some stuff together at 4 in the morning before I got ready for work. And that was how this tutorial was made. But yeah, you could just put these together. Again, I'm kind of rotating them to try and get them to snap where they need to go into place. But other than that, this was pretty easy, right? I mean, it probably took me probably would take a normal person 5-6 minutes to do. And then from there, I can just remove the catwalks. I had already blueprinted them, so if I ever needed to do something like this again, I could without having to drop that whole foundation. And then once these are gone, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to blueprint all of that. Because I can now blueprint this, and since I don't need it to be touching anything or snapped anything, makes it super easy. Blueprinting it is a little tricky, just getting all of the roofs, or the floors blueprinted. I do eventually get them all. And once you have them blueprinted, it doesn't even take up your whole blueprint to do this, because you don't have the things that snap to them. You're just literally blueprinting the floors, right? From there, all I need to do is make sure that it's all blueprinted, and then I can just go ahead and place this anywhere up in the sky or what have you, which is really cool. So you want to talk about flying saucers, this is like the flying saucer, right? Because it's thin. And there's other things you can do with this too, like put it on top of water or whatnot. But look, I can just kind of place it there, and that isn't touching anything. And for those of you who have ever been looking to do upper floors for your, whatever you're going to build with a round blueprint, you can now do that. And I think that that's a really cool option for those interested in making those round blueprints with the upper floors. And again, it didn't take me long to do that. Just make sure you got a buddy with a really good round blueprint. Don't go necessarily through the trouble of making one unless you're like a super perfectionist, which I don't blame you there if you do. So I'm going to show you this real quick. And this is more of an idea to spark the creativity. I had made an ultrasite mountain camp, and it took me weeks to do because it was just super tedious. Literally, if you like that camp, you could literally build this thing in probably a day. It took me about 2-3 minutes to do this part. And you won't have the things that are supporting underneath to float it like I did. Look at this. All of those, when I built this, had tables underneath that are floating these up. Think about all the budget I would have had if I didn't have to use these tables and these roofs as supports. And then anybody can now make that camp in almost no time with this new update. Look how cool that looks. I'm very proud of this camp, and now I know that everybody can make it with no issues. Just like this round one right here. You could probably make that in a couple of days now without having to do all the crazy stuff that I did with that. And this is coming in a few months, so be prepared. Help me by getting all of the new tricks out there, because I know that I just scratched the surface on this. I'm sure there's so many more cool things that we can do. Share them with the world. Share them with me if you don't have a platform to do so. I will help get it out there. For those of you who have been watching me either today or over the last 6 years, thank you so much. I really appreciate all the support. Y'all stay blessed, stay safe, and you have a great, great day.